Hello and welcome back to Airbrush Ways. In this video I'm going to show you how to lay down a marble effect panel before you do any artwork. So it's going to give you kind of a marbled background. It's quite easy to do, and if you just follow the way I'm doing it, you shouldn't have any problems. So I have this panel here which we've used before for all kinds of things, and what I've done is I've wet and dried it with 600 grit wet and dry paper, and then I've just masked it off because there's no need to do the whole thing. You can see there's already a load of bits and pieces on this that have been on there before, but we won't worry about that. So what I've got in the airbrush, I'm using the Badger Renegade Chrome, and in there I have Autoborn Sealer White, which is 6001, and about 25% of 4012 reducer. So this first part, all I want to do now is just cover this over with the white. So this is all we're going to do. Just start off, I'm about 6 or so inches away. Just move that piece out the way before it falls, and just as if I was spraying a panel, we've used this before, and for doing this for just demonstration purposes, this particular white is quite old stuff, and that's kind of why I'm just using it now to get rid of it. It's not great, to be honest. There's a lot of lumps and bits in it. I think it's just past its sell by date. It's had a lot of cold days and cold nights. So we're not talking great paint, but for the sake of covering this panel, it'll do the job. I'm about 35 psi at the moment on this, and that's enough to lay down this first coat of white. This paint is blocking slightly. It's old paint, and I know that. So you wouldn't have all this trouble that I'm having now just putting this in. If you had some new paint, mix it up the same way as I've just said. Okay, we'll put a bit more in. And we'll let that dry. Okay, so another coat then. We'll just let that dry. Okay, so we'll let that dry off, and then we'll move on to the next stage. If you were doing this and you were going to do this and put a piece of artwork over the top, rather than me just showing you how this thing works, is really you could do with it nice and white, just like that. I've obviously used an old board, and there are some pieces of other stuff showing through, but for the sake of showing you how to do it, it doesn't matter that I'm using a piece of old board. You could also use say a piece of the composite aluminium with the white paneling already on it. Just scuff it up and then use that. So this is what I'm trying to get to this stage. What I wouldn't do is just use a piece of copy paper like this, because that's too thin, and if you tried to put that amount of paint on here, it'd just start warping and looking really bad. So You do need something that's kind of got a solid background. If you were doing anything to do with panelling or any kind of hard surface, you can do this on it, but definitely not on the say A4 copy paper. Okay, so we'll let this dry off and then we'll move on to the next stage. Okay, so we've got this panel whitened out now, and that will do. As I said before, you can always add a few more if you're going to put some artwork on it. If it was me now and I was putting artwork on there and I wanted a background, this marbleized kind of thing, then that's what I'd do. Now don't forget also the Autoborn sealer. You can actually dry sand it, so if you had say 1500 or 2000 grit sandpaper and you had any lumps and bumps on there that you wanted to, you can always dry sand it before you put anything else on there. So that's the thing as it's done now. I've just swapped over and I've put the Harder and Steenbeck Evolution. It's quite a big needle on this 0.5, and it has quite a big cup. So what I'm going to do now is just add say 25% of 4012 reducer, and then I'm going to pour into the cup this Auto Air iridescent purple. I'm doing this just to give you the contrast. So what you want to do is make sure that when whatever you put over the top now actually has that contrast in colour, in rather than say a yellow and a white, and that's what's going to give you this effect. So I'll just give this a shake up, and I want to get this before it's dried up. So before it ends up as being dried on the page, I need to get this thing ready and be able to do this marbling effect. I'll show you then exactly how this thing is going to work. So here we go with the purple. Okay, so that's the purple on there. Then we're just going to get some of this cling film, which is just the ordinary stuff that you'd wrap your food in. Put that down on there. May take a couple of times depending on how good or how bad you want this, or how tight you want the little bits of marbling in there. And then if we just pull that off, and there you've got the marbling effect over the top of the white. And what I'll do now is just try and get you in a little bit closer and let you see exactly how this has turned out. Okay, so that's up close, and we can see this effect that's gone on in there. You can see how close it is compared to my hand here. So that's how we've got this marble effect in the background. If I was using this now to do artwork over the top, what I would do then is, once this is dried, I would put a coat or two of the 4004 transparent base over the top. Then I would clear coat it, then I would rub it down wet and dry and get that thing as flat as it was as original board, and then from there start to do my artwork over the top. So I'm just going to pull you back out again so you can get a better look of the thing as a whole. Okay, so that's it. It would just be left now to dry. If you've enjoyed what I've done, give us a thumbs up, share the video, and let's see if we can build up this subscription of people that are watching the stuff that I've done. So this is how to do marbling effect. I'm Jack, this is Airbrush Ways. Hope to speak to you soon. Don't forget to subscribe. Okay, thank you. Bye.